And it was because we were all feeling like crap. The conversation that was paralleling the use of this new option to help us unwind was like, I feel like crap all the time. I have no patience. I have like temper issues. I have sleep issues. I have aches and pains. And that's what also kind of got me exploring the whole perimenopause and menopause space, which was like, maybe there's some connection here, like I know THC helped me stop feeling like crap, but it seems like it's doing it a lot for other women as well.
Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, and I am back this week with another incredible suburban warrior here to share her story and expertise with us. And I am really excited about this week's episode and anxious to get into the conversation, because we are going to talk about a subject that I feel like is on a lot of people's minds and they want to know more about. And that's really about how botanicals can really help alleviate the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause and really just midlife for women, all the aches and pains and things that we're feeling. And our guest today, we're going to get into that. And yes, we're going to talk THC and CBD, which personally I am very excited about, because I don't know about you, but on this journey of midlife, the older I've gotten, the harder it is for me to tolerate alcohol. And I know that me and a lot of my friends have been discussing, like, what are some alternatives? How can we still relax and have a good time? What are we doing socially when we want to really have a drink, but we know we're going to feel like absolute crap the next day? So I am so excited to get into this episode. So let me introduce the expert herself, who's going to really dig deep for all of us. Meet Margi, the founder and CEO of VIIQ, a women's wellness brand harnessing the efficacy of botanicals for perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. With an MBA from St. Catherine's and 15 years of corporate leadership experience, Margi established herself as a business growth strategist before founding VIIQ in September of 2024. Based outside Minneapolis, where she lives with her husband, 4 children, and 3 dogs, Margi launched VIIQ to market in February of 2025. Her vision is twofold: to change perceptions around cannabis as a legitimate symptom management solution, and to foster meaningful conversations about perimenopause and menopause. Margi firmly believes this transformative life stage can be navigated with dignity and wellness without unnecessary comfort. Through VIIQ, she's creating both innovative products and a supportive community for women embracing this powerful transition. Welcome to the podcast, Margi.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to have this conversation.
Me too. Like I said, I'm really excited to have this conversation because I do feel like it's something that has been out there and spoken about a lot. I mean, obviously THC is around a lot more everywhere we look. CBD, it's in a lot of different products, and just really the use of plants and botanicals in general to help with alleviate our, not only, I guess, alleviate our symptoms, but also just to help us feel better, invigorated, empowered, energetic, all these, different things that we want to feel at this stage of life. So I can't wait to get into all of that. But first, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell me, what's your background? What made you passionate about starting VIIQ? Like, I want to hear it all.
Yeah, so I started my career, well, I guess my career really kind of like took off as far as climbing the corporate ladder in the liquor industry. So when it comes to THC, like this is a bit of an aside, but when it comes to THC as an option to cut down on alcohol intake, that was like a personal exploration for me because I was surrounded by alcohol all the time. I was in that industry specifically for 12 years and left to kind of just figure out what was next for me. I had, as I say, I had overstayed my welcome. I think as a lot of us do, feeling the responsibility to stay loyal to a company or a career. So that was a big jump for me. And after I left, I consulted with a handful of THC companies and saw that, in my own suburban life, that it was really the women between like 35 and 60 who were exploring this new space. In Minnesota specifically, THC drinks were like a booming category, and they still are. And it was all the women that I was, hanging out with on the weekends, my friends that were like, oh, I want to try some of this. I just started using this new THC brand. And, as women, when we find brands that we love, we're all kind of talking about it. But for me, the question was like, why is this happening? Like, we know mommy wine culture isn't good for us, but why are we all turning toward these THC drinks? And it was because we were all feeling like crap. The conversation that was paralleling the use of this new option to help us unwind was like, I feel like crap all the time. I have no patience. I have like temper issues. I have sleep issues. I have aches and pains. And that's what also kind of got me exploring the whole perimenopause and menopause space, which was like, maybe there's some connection here, like I know THC helped me stop feeling like crap, but it seems like it's doing it a lot for other women as well. So when it came time to work with a farm up in northern Minnesota who was already kind of working in the grow space, I pitched to them this idea for the brand VIIQ to really help connect those two spaces, to help bring these powerful botanicals to the women who are actually already seeking them out and using them with very little information to go along with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as you mentioned in my bio, I live in the suburbs of Minneapolis with my 4 kids and 3 dogs and a bearded dragon. We have like a whole circus. So it's completely ridiculous. But
I love it.
Yeah. So I was, also just looking for all the stress relief I could get just from my busy life.
Absolutely. Okay, so as you're going through this and you're seeing that a lot of women your age or women in midlife are looking for alternatives, the THC drinks, I have seen those around for sure as well. So what was sort of the conversation like with you and these other women, and like what was the outcome? Like were people getting favorable results? Is that why, what was that like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the conversation was, oh, I can kind of unwind. I can feel relaxed without the hangover. My doctor said I have something called inflammation. I don't know what that is, but they told me I need to stop drinking, and there's no way I can just stop drinking without some other way to take the edge off.
Yeah.
I think that taking the edge off had a lot to do with it. It was never a conversation about getting high, which I think is one of the biggest misconceptions. We all grew up in the Nancy Reagan era, like just say no, remember, I always talk about, do you remember those commercials like this is your brain on drugs?
Do I remember them? They were like on after school, like every day. Right. The egg in the frying pan. Yeah.
The egg in the frying pan.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs.
Correct. Yes.
Very scary.
Right. Yeah, we were all terrified. So, I think that created, understandably, like a little bit of a gap of understanding, and also of like kind of a reticence to try to go straight for these products. But the other thing that I noticed very quickly was a lot of the dosages that were coming out in these drinks were already too high for a lot of the women that I spoke with. So it was like, how can we take this, 5 milligram or 10 milligram drink, mix it with water or mix it with a sparkling water and cut it down, and then I guess throw away the other half of the can, like there was a usage gap too, as far as dosage was concerned, because, and then I started learning about the endocannabinoid system and realized like, okay, we don't actually, women especially who are just starting this journey don't really need a lot of THC. And actually it's one of those dual compounds where in the right amount of dosage, it can help treat or prevent anxiety, but too much can actually cause anxiety. And so that also created a barrier where, some of my friends would be like, well, I had a horrible experience in college, right? Myself included.
Right.
And I just don't want to ever feel that way again. And I don't want the anxiety or the paranoia. And so, again, that dosage conversation was definitely a piece of it that was missing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think especially little dangerous in the drinks, because if you're thinking, and I've seen this firsthand with like my friends, if you're, when you go out drinking for the night, you normally have several drinks. So if, you're not just having a drink normally, if you're socializing.
I'm not.
So, right, exactly. So, and after, if you're having a drink that has 5 milligrams in, one drink, and the next thing you know, you've had 2 or 3 or 4 drinks, you just consumed a pretty hefty amount of, forget it is right. Yeah. And then you're like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. Right. So I think to your point, the dosage is huge. And the delivery system, obviously.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit of what you learned with this whole endocannabinoid system. Like, I love that you realized that there was this tipping point where there's just enough, it really helps to calm you, but too much, and then it have the opposite effect. Any other insights that came from your learnings?
Absolutely. So the biggest insight for me was just that the endocannabinoid system existed in the first place. So a lot of people don't even know that that's a thing. It turns out that from a medical perspective, apparently the system wasn't even really discovered until the 1990s. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So within our lifetime, obviously, also the same time we were being told that marijuana was basically deadly, they were discovering this thing called the endocannabinoid system. And so it is a system in your body that effectively regulates all other systems. It's the same system that creates what we call the runner's high. So we have cannabinoids freely flowing in our bodies, and we have these receptors, which is the system that knows what to do with those chemicals. And so if your endocannabinoid system gets exhausted or worn out, that can make you feel things like anxiety or sleep disturbances. It can increase inflammation. It can cause pains, aches, pains, all of those things, because the receptors are depleted. They're communicating to your brain. And so supplementing with cannabinoids, so that's THC is only one of those cannabinoids. There's CBD, CBG, CBC, CBN, all those different parts of the plant, as well as other adaptogens, can help to support that system in your body to make you feel better. There's a ton of science behind this, and there's a ton of really good papers out there that you can really dig into the system itself. But the abbreviated explanation of this for me is our body knows what to do with these substances. This is not, when you drink alcohol, it's the processing of ethanol, it's the processing of a poison through your major organs that makes you feel drunk.
Yeah.
When you take cannabis, you're not processing a poison to give you a feeling. It's the actual interaction with your system and the cannabinoids that you're taking. So people try to compare cannabis to alcohol, but from my perspective, it's just a completely different experience for your body. And a little tiny bit of the right cannabinoid can really make a huge difference when it comes to pain management, anxiety management, sleep management, all of those things, which tend to be real pains in the ass during perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. So, and I'll say I'm not a doctor. I cannot make any medical claims. And also to that point, one of the biggest frustrations is I see a lot of other companies putting out supplements, adaptogenic supplements, and they can use words like pain relief, inflammation, right? All of these things for their supplements. We are not allowed to use any of those terms because they're considered medical claims. And just because we're in the cannabis space, there's like this like harsh no. So you'll see all of our language on our website, and any of our materials are all like symptom relievers. They may help you. They may help support you. We know for a fact that there's real science behind what these plants can do and how specifically they help your system. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to state those claims because of the legal kind of messiness on the marijuana, on not just marijuana, on the cannabis plant. By the way, all of our stuff is hemp derived. So that's a whole other chapter.
So all of your stuff is hemp derived?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to know what that means. But first I want to say, I totally understand that. I worked in pharma for 15 years.
Okay.
And so I get it. And I understand that, like, so because you're in this cannabis space, you are limited to the claims that you can make, even if there is science to back it up. It's just how you are allowed to market it, to the public, in the public domain, whereas supplementing is not, there's no real regulation on supplementing. So they can, supplements can say that they'll cure every disease in the world. They pain relief, this, that. I mean, they can say anything they want, which is really crazy and bizarre. And also sad because it's like false claims, and it unfortunately, or it may not be false claims, but it may be an exaggeration of claims. And then when things are regulated, such as certain medications and things like cannabis, you are really limited to what you can say. So I completely understand that world. And again, that is just a failing of our governmental system and regulatory system, unfortunately.
Sure. And hopefully it'll change. So
yeah, hopefully. Tell us, okay, so when you say it's hemp derived, tell us what that means to those who don't really know, can make that distinction.
Yeah, I appreciate that because it is an important distinction. So hemp derived cannabis is federally legal. This happened in 2018 with the Farm Bill. So we technically are able to ship across the country. There's always the case for state by state regulation. And some states, we're seeing a lot of, it's constantly changing. We're seeing some states that have already, actually, let me back up. So there's hemp derived cannabis. And then there's marijuana, or what's also called adult use or recreational cannabis. Okay. And when it comes to the cannabinoids, they are the same, right? So THC is THC, whether it's hemp-derived THC or marijuana-derived THC. The difference is the chemical makeup of the plant. So in a hemp plant, there's substantially more CBD, CBG, other cannabinoids, and a very small amount of THC. In order for the plant to be classified as hemp, it has to be 0.3% or less THC by weight. And if you're shopping for these products and you are looking for hemp derived, the product has to say that on the label as well. It'll say 0.3% THC or less by weight. Okay. That doesn't mean, so then there's still the milligrams of THC per product, but what that's telling you is that that's a hemp-derived THC. That's federally legal THC. Okay. The other plant, marijuana, which is used for adult rec, which is not legal in federally, but is legal in some states. Okay. Has a higher percentage of THC by weight. And generally lower breakdown of those other cannabinoids. I see. Okay, I totally get it now. Yeah. So for our topicals, for instance, we grow all of our hemp in a farm in northern Minnesota. We harvest it, we decarb it, we cook it, and we make the oils from scratch. soup to nuts. And then for every batch, we go and get it tested for microbials, like for anything that we wouldn't want in there. And then we also get that CBD level measured, because since we're using whole plant, it can vary by batch as well. So you're getting all of the goodness from that hemp plant in our oils and our balms and all of our topicals. For our gummies, we manufacture those at a gummy manufacturer, and he buys an isolate of THC that is hemp derived. So for the edibles, you want it to be very precise, so that, and you want to make sure that you're buying from a reputable manufacturer, so that what you're getting is exactly what it says on the package.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised how many corners are cut. So yeah, that's the difference between hemp derived and then kind of that adult use rec marijuana derived. And it's interesting because I see a lot of companies out there too marketing like, these are functional gummies, and you don't actually even know that there's THC involved until you're like really scrolling in on the ingredients. So one thing, just from a brand perspective, we try to be pretty upfront about the fact that we're working with cannabinoids and that we want you to understand that that's what you're ingesting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I would imagine if someone didn't know they were ingesting THC or CBD, any part of it, and then saw it on the label, that would be probably a little misleading. It's like having a drink and not knowing there's alcohol in it, and then you're like,
definitely.
Why do I? Yeah,
and it can be dangerous because again, everyone's endocannabinoid system is different, and every dosage is going to react differently. Like, until you understand what dosage works well for your body, it's important to, as we say, go low and slow. Start with the smallest amount possible. See how it affects you in a 24-hour period, and then go up from there. I don't recommend going the other way around, which is how most people go.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Most people popping 5 gummies at a time. Just wait.
Fine.
Yeah. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so tell us how you sort of understood or stumbled upon like all of this, wellness and relief that we're getting from things like CBD, CBG, THC. Like, can you glean a little bit more light for us on what works for what sort of thing? Like, what's good?
So from my own experience, back in 2019, which again was a year after the Farm Bill, so we started seeing more retail spaces in Minnesota with CBD products.
Yeah.
And at the same time in my life, I was starting to experience like panic attacks and more anxiety symptoms, which the following year in 2020, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, which seemed weird because I had never experienced that before. So, in hindsight, that was my crappy introduction to perimenopause.
I was going to say, were you happen to be perimenopausal?
Yes. Yeah. As it turns out, it took me a lot of time to figure that out, but more time than it should have. But
exactly.
Right. I was put on an antidepressant, right? I had like the classic introduction to perimenopause, like, here's your antidepressant, here's your birth control, let's see how it goes.
My gosh. Yeah, it sucks.
So, which since then we've gotten to a much better place, or I have gotten to a much better place with my approach to that. But, just trusting your doctor and not questioning anything. And so.
And looking for some relief because that's what you needed, right?
Totally. Because I didn't recognize myself anymore, right? And that's what it comes down to. Like, we wake up, it seems like in one day we're like, who is this person and what's happening to me?
Yeah.
So I say that with a lot of love, because I know that a lot of us struggle through, this 10 to 15 year period of our lives. So yeah, I walked into one of these kind of wellness shops though with my friend, and she mentioned to me that she was using CBD oils for a chronic inflammatory issue that she had been dealing with for a couple of years, and that it was really helping her. And so I spoke to the shop owners who are incredible, and they told me about the use of CBD to help with anxiety specifically, and that one of the shop owners was able to like go off of her anti-anxiety medication entirely with the use of CBD, obviously, supervised by a doctor and all of those things, but that they were really connecting the powerful, like, kind of use of cannabis and helping to tame these really serious symptoms. So that was how I got into CBD, and then eventually like microdose THC, because my THC experiences up until that point had been all over the place, right? Like yeah. I mean,
are we going to, let's get into it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, there was,
as
a not a kid, good God, as a college student though.
Right.
Having,
which is like a kid compared to where we are now, but
right.
Yeah.
And you just do what everyone else is doing, not realizing that you're going to have your own individualized experience. And so I did experience like the panic and anxiety from having too much. And so I didn't want to do that, but I didn't know why that was happening at the time. But I think to jump to kind of like the different cannabinoids and their functionality to your question. So THC is the psychoactive cannabinoid. Yeah. It is also the only true like psychoactive that creates that experience of feeling high. And there are a lot of different, like, especially in the marijuana and adult use category, there's different strains of it. You can use different terpenes to have different experiences. And really, it's that THC concentration that's going to give you any sort of kind of high feeling.
Right.
So next we have CBD. And the one thing that I say to all women who have had a bad experience with just THC in the past is to start by trying a THC product that also has CBD coupled with it. Okay. And the reason why is because CBD is the cannabinoid that helps with anxiety. It helps to calm your system down. It's extremely calming, and it gives you what I call kind of like the weighted blanket effect. So it just helps to, it's also the cannabinoid that is scientifically proven to help reduce inflammation. So if you think of the cannabinoid receptors and THC is taking up a couple of spots, like say it's taking up these spots and you're only taking THC, it will fill up those receptors. CBD is known to take up a lot more space. So it helps to kind of round out the experience of the THC. So our Rage Cage gummy, for instance,
which, by the way, I love the name. I mean, it's awesome.
It is a friend of mine, Sarah, is the one who named it, but it was the formulation is personally inspired. I like to say it's a gummy that you need to take when you're ready to evict your entire family. So,
oh my God, I love it. I love it. Okay, so what's in the Rage Cage that makes it that way?
So the Rage Cage, so all of our gummies are only 2.5 milligrams of THC. So we start low and slow to begin with.
Okay.
And the Rage Cage also has 25 milligrams of CBD. So again, this really helps to just mellow out your whole system. It helps to calm you down. It really helps, like when I'm in bad PMDD, like the 2 weeks before my period, if I have some of those days where I like truly can't socialize with people, it just helps to like bring me back to earth and really calm things down. It also has L-theanine, ashwagandha, and passion flower in it, which are also adaptogens that help. L-theanine is actually an amino acid. So they're all ingredients that really help to calm and to kind of center your well-being. So it's just the best. It's what we found too. We have a nighttime gummy, which is great for going to sleep, like if you want to figure out a replacement for melatonin. But if the reason you wake up in the middle of the night is from cortisol spikes, which is very common for perimenopause, like you wake up, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, who did I offend in middle school? Like, what did I just say in that meeting last week that made me I'm so stupid? Those like thoughts that don't belong in your mind in the middle of the night. I found that Rage Cage helps with that as well, because that CBD helps to really calm those cortisol spikes, presumably. So
so Rage Cage is good for sleep as well.
It's good for sleep as well, but for
Yeah.
different reasons. Yeah. So like
Right.
one of our family friends, he's a war veteran, and he had trouble sleeping. So he started with a nightcap, and he said, it really helped me fall asleep right away. I still had that wake up at 3 a.m. And I said, you know what? Try the rage cage, because we're seeing a lot of people benefit if the reason you're waking up is from that like stress
Yeah.
response in the middle of the night. And he texted me the next morning and said, Margie, I took a rage cage last night, and I slept for 8 hours for the first time in 10 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of women in midlife experience different sleep issues, but almost
Totally.
everyone experiences some type of sleep issues. But I really feel like from the women that I talk to and really get into about sleep, it is that night, not midnight, but middle of the night sort of wake up. And from the cortisol spiking, not that everyone realizes that's why, but it's like you wake up and you're wide awake, and then your thoughts are spiraling, and you're thinking about, like you said, who did I offend in high school? Why did I say that?
Right.
Like literally everything and anything that is so ridiculous, but your mind is spiraling so bad that you just can't fall back asleep.
Totally.
And it's the weirdest like phenomenon, like why it happens to us.
Totally.
And so, finding something that helps to kind of just ease that, because I have as well. And I think just finding something that helps you. I mean, a lot of times we still wake up, but it's really about being able to sort of just fall back asleep without having that huge cortisol spike and spiral and being up for 2 to 3 hours.
Totally. And so I would say, if that's one thing we will be coming out with is CBD tinctures. We don't have them yet, but I also just would recommend, if that's something that people are experiencing, that CBD just by itself as well, to just take a couple drops in the middle of the night is super effective. So yeah, CBD is your calming.
Okay, so
Yeah.
tell us about some of the other gummies that you have, like, because you have Rage Cage, another one. So I've dialed in.
Yay!
I haven't tried it yet because I just got it.
Yeah.
Which I'm thrilled that I did. I can't wait to try it. But I got dialed in because, it talks about focus and slightly stimulating. And I find for myself personally, I don't need anything to calm me. Like, I kind of could use a little energy, and especially if I'm taking it, because I get that like mid-afternoon lull, that like 2 or 3 o'clock, I just start to kind of peter out, and I feel tired. Or I also got it thinking like, maybe I'll try it as a replacement for alcohol, since it's slightly stimulating. But it says that it's cannabis infused ginger pineapple gummies, which sounds so good. So tell us about why this one works.
Yeah, so I love Dialed In, and I love your idea. If you are feeling exhausted in the middle of the day, I would maybe push Dialed In out a little bit to like your, like you were saying, like kind of like your cocktail hour, your socializing gummy.
Yeah.
I do know quite a few people who take it in the morning, like for actual focus for work. And that works really well for them. The people who have responded to that the most are people who also have like an ADD or ADHD diagnosis, where they really need that like help getting the laser focus. So again, this is where you kind of have to like try a little bit, see how it affects you.
Yeah.
Because THC itself can also chill you out. So if you're already exhausted,
right,
you might want to, again, wait till you finish that work day and you're ready, where you would normally have a glass of wine. A Dialed In would be perfect. So the reason it's energizing, kind of slightly stimulating, is we couple it with CBG, which is another cannabinoid that helps with focus. It's also calming on the like anti-anxiety end, so it helps to round out that THC experience again. But it's a little bit more of an energizing cannabinoid.
Okay.
It also has ginkgo biloba in it, which is energizing and is also an aphrodisiac.
Oh,
so
nice.
I like to take Dialed In as almost like a end of night if I'm going on date night, because my libido has been hit hard in perimenopause. And THC coupled with those other adaptogens helps me so much, and so much better than, like there's actual doctors out there who will say like, just have a glass of wine, relax,
Oh my
you'll
God.
get in the mood. It's
I
like,
know.
no.
I kind of feel like that they say that the have a glass of wine is what doctors say to pretty much every symptom that women show up with in perimenopause, because they think we're all just fucking crazy.
But if you're
God forbid we're actually experiencing like real hormonal changes with real symptoms.
Right.
But just have a glass of wine. You're fine.
Yeah. No big deal. Mm-hmm. And not to mention the fact that if you're already depleted, like when I'm super depleted and I have a glass of wine, I have a full-blown migraine. So that's not going to make me feel like sexy and relaxed either. So ginkgo biloba has that kind of energizing and stimulating effect. And then Kanna is also in there as well. And that is a really interesting adaptogen that they're learning a ton about. It helps, again, with kind of calming your nervous system while also like energizing you. So it can be in like ancient practices and other civilizations, it's used as an antidepressant, but it also helps to kind of like, wake you up and enhance your mood. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's a really fun.
I mean, it sounds amazing. Yeah. I can't wait to try it.
I had a friend take one
this weekend.
Yes, exactly. I had a friend take one before an art show. And I keep mentioning men. So these are formulated for perimenopause and menopause with women in mind, but they're also, they work great for men's systems as well. I compare it to like, we've been using our husband's razors forever.
Right.
And by the time we got our own razors, they were just colored pink and they charged more for them.
Yeah.
This is all this is in the, we've formulated all of these with women in mind, but men have had great experiences with our products as well. So my friend took one before an art show, and like 20 minutes in, he was like, I am having the best time.
Oh my God, I love that. That's like, awesome.
This is awesome. Like he was super jazzed. So yeah, so that's dialed in. And then our last one is Nightcap. So Nightcap is formulated to help you fall asleep and stay asleep. I know several women who during perimenopause and menopause have developed a borderline complete reliance on melatonin.
Yeah.
And so my mom recently actually mentioned to me, she's like, I think the melatonin is like affecting my brain throughout the day, like just the amount of kind of grogginess that it can bring along with it. So the idea with Nightcap is that it has that same effect as melatonin at putting you to sleep. So it feels like, the blinds are closing on your eyelids without the grogginess, and with a little bit more of that anti-inflammatory effect as well. So we use, again, the 2.5 of THC, 5 milligrams of CBN, which is a cannabinoid that specifically helps you relax and fall asleep. And then tart cherry and valerian root. So it's lovely. I love, love, love our Nightcap, and it tastes amazing because the tart cherry that we use imparts flavor, but it's the actual natural tart cherry.
Yeah. So do you recommend just taking like one gummy a day? Like if, because you have like dialed in, rage cage, you have the sleep. Mm-hmm. Do you have people that take maybe, dialed in during the day and then Nightcap for sleep? Do you think you should just take one? That's my first question. Then my next question is, how long do you think the effects of the gummy last?
Yeah, great questions. So we purposefully, on the other adaptogens, cut the measurements down from like what would be a supplement daily dosage recommendation. So you can take more than one.
Okay.
What you'll be doing is just adding more of those adaptogens to your system without going overboard. So that's the first piece. The second piece is the answer to that is completely based on your own system. So what you really want to be conscious of is your own tolerance of the THC. So some people are going to start with 2 because 5 milligrams is what gets them going. And is where, and maybe they want to feel that effect of the THC a little bit more. Some people are going to start with half and then take the second half later in the day. So what I would really recommend is get to know how your body responds to the THC first, and then you can determine how to take one or more. And you certainly can. So yeah, you can certainly take one in the morning, you could take two at night, but it really comes down to how your system responds to the cannabinoids.
Yeah. And then about how long do you think the effects last?
Yeah, so for me,
I'm sure that's probably based on your own system, how you metabolize it.
Totally.
If you ate, if you didn't eat, like all of those things, but
100%.
Roundabout. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, actually, to that point, the amount of time they take to kick in is also based on that. So
yeah,
these are all highly bioavailable. They're what you would consider fast acting because of our source of cannabinoids are all plant derived and super clean. So they can kick in as soon as 20 minutes, but it can take up to 40 depending, like you said, on what you've eaten that day, how well hydrated you are, things like that. So I'd say between 20 and 30 minutes is average as far as when they kick in. And then for me, the effects last for a couple hours. So, but again, with the rage cage, for people who are experiencing those middle of the night spikes, we've seen that the CBD does help because it kind of stays, like just because the effects have kind of worn off doesn't mean that the cannabinoids are not still helping with your system.
Right.
We've also heard some people say like, I took nightcap for a couple days in a row and then I didn't need to take it for a couple days. So like,
oh wow,
there's something to that we'll probably continue to learn about the system in our body, that if your endocannabinoid system is kind of satiated and you're using it for those specific reasons, that it can kind of ebb and flow. Some days you might need a little more to keep the effects going, and other days maybe not. So, but yeah, I would say like 4 hours for me.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. All right, so I want to touch on, you said, so you also have bombs?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay, so what are those sort of the same type of mixtures but are just in a bomb instead of a gummy?
No, so our topicals are totally different.
Topicals,
we make all of our topicals from scratch.
Okay.
In our commercial kitchen in Minnesota. We grow all of the hemp, so we do not outsource any part of the manufacturing. We do it all in-house. And what we use, so we have our joint rollers, which are oil rollers for muscle and joint pain.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we have our balm, and so it's the balm. And then we have the oil, which is our massage and sauna oil.
Okay.
We're finalizing right now. We just ordered the label, so that will be like officially released in the next week or so. And then we're also coming out with 3 different bath soaks, which are incredible. Oh. Right now, we just give them as like gift with purchase, but they are so awesome. So all of our joint rollers start with that full spectrum hemp oil and whole flower arnica oil. And for
love that.
all of our
arnica
botanical oils, we make all of those infusions. So we take whole flower, we cook it in MCT oil, and then we basically make like giant teas out of them and strain the flowers. And then we have kind of these drums of different botanical infused oils. So we have St. John's wort, calendula, chamomile, lavender, arnica. All of them are just made in batches. And then all the joint rollers also have a small profile of essential oils. So there's different uses for each. We have chill, which is cooling. It has more of a menthol profile. It's awesome for joint pain, muscle pain. Think of it as like your all natural version of an icy hot. And then we have melt, which has a warming effect for the same uses, but it's also great on like your outer pelvis area for menstrual cramps.
Yeah.
Just again,
it's like a heating pad, basically.
Exactly. And it has
awesome.
Ginger and cinnamon and turmeric, and so like there's just a lot of good stuff in each of them. Extra has more of a lavender profile, and that's more the reason it's called extra is because it has a higher CBD ratio, so it's kind of our extra strength. And then we have a simple, which has no essential oils. So it's still all of the botanicals with no additional scent.
Okay.
And all of those roller oils are made with organic cacao butter. So they're like kind of hydrating, but they absorb really quickly. And they have worked wonders. So my mother is 75. She has a totally arthritic knee. She needs a knee replacement surgery, in theory, but she's not interested in getting one because of other reasons. And she uses it twice a day on her knee and feels no pain. So she still doesn't have full movement, right?
Right,
and
right.
This is with all of our products. We say, if you break your arm, you go to the doctor, you get the x-ray, you get it set, you get it put in a cast. Like, you need to get things handled based on what needs to get handled. What's the root cause?
Right,
Similar to perimenopause and menopause. It doesn't mean there's not a need for hormone replacement therapy or maybe another intervention. Maybe you're low on certain nutrients. Like, we really make it a point to make sure that we're elevating the voices of the practitioners who are out there doing the research, who are giving women answers. We're just there to help ease the crappy symptoms, right?
Yeah.
So in the
naturally,
example, right?
Yeah.
In the example of the breaking the arm, you still have to take it home and elevate it and put some ice on it. Like, that's where we come in. we're the put some ice on it.
Right. I love that. I love that. I think that's phenomenal. And the fact that you're doing it with, natural, ethically and organically sourced products, and making sure that everything that you're putting into your products is good and clean, that's huge. And that's really important to what we're doing. I also love that a joint roller takes a whole new meaning in our 50s than it did back in the day.
We have
very
t-shirts.
clever.
I'm going to send you a t-shirt, Chrissy. We have t-shirts that just says joint roller on the front.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so fun. It's my favorite. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this conversation has been so fun today, and I feel like I've learned so much. Tell my audience where they can find you and more information about VIIQ.
Yeah. So we are at VIIQ Wellness on all of the socials, and our website is VIIQwellness.com, and that's where you can find us. We're trying to really get. I mean, as you mentioned, we launched pretty recently, so we're still trying to get out of the land of obscurity in the brand world. So,
I mean, very recently.
Yeah.
Like, you've been on the market for literally, not even 2 months. So I have no doubt that this brand will have so much success because of your passion behind it. And besides, I mean, the packaging is beautiful.
Thank you.
And I've heard great things about it. So I'm very excited to check it out. So, and I think anytime you're using really clean products that work, it's going to be a success. So
thank you, Chrissy. That means a lot.
Yeah. I love, and I'm so honored to have you on in the beginning phase of this.
Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful.
Awesome.
So thank you, and I can't wait to talk more about it in the future.
Me too. Yeah. I'm gonna have you back on in a year after it's blown up, and we'll talk about all the new products you have and all the success. Yay. So thank you so much, Margi, for being on the podcast today, and for being an incredible suburban warrior and doing all of these things to help. Really help women in midlife just thrive, So you guys, you can find Margi at VIIQ Wellness on Instagram and on VIIQwellness.com. And you can find me on Suburban Warrior on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you get the podcast. I am there. And we would love to hear from you. In fact, we need to hear from you. So if you could leave us a review on Apple or comment on Instagram or Spotify, that really helps get the podcast out there and helps other women who need to hear the podcast really get access to it more and more. So be sure to click the follow button not to miss an episode of the Suburban Warrior podcast, where we are redefining midlife wellness with grit and grace. So warrior up, believe in you, and we'll be back next week with another amazing suburban warrior here to share her story with you.